This is part 2 of the previous one, named Never Leaving.
This can't be happening. Adrian stood quietly nearby. I didn't ask for this, he said. She looked up at him angrily. You think I did? No. Then fix it. His voice dropped to something sad again. If I knew how, I would have done it for myself. Her anger faded slightly. What do you mean? Adrian looked around the room slowly. I have tried to leave this house. Her eyes widened. You can't? No. Why? The moment I reach the forest edge, he paused. I begin to disappear. A heavy silence followed. So the house keeps you too, Lena whispered. Yes. For 87 years? Yes. Her voice softened slightly. That's why you didn't want me to leave. Adrian didn't respond. She stood slowly. You're lonely. His eyes flickered. Yes, but that doesn't give you the right to trap me here. I didn't trap you. The door locked. The house locked it. She stared at him. And you're just okay with that? Adrian's voice was barely a whisper. No. Another long silence passed. Then, a soft creak echoed from the hallway. Lena froze. Did you hear that? Adrian's expression changed, slowly, into something uneasy. Yes. Was that the house? He shook his head slowly. No. Her heart started pounding again. Then what was it? Adrian looked toward the dark hallway leading deeper into the house. When he spoke, his voice had lost its calm. That man you brought here. Lena's stomach dropped. You said the house finished him. I thought it did. Another creak came from the hallway. Footsteps, dragging slowly across the wood. Lena grabbed Adrian's arm. Tell me that's not him. Adrian stared into the darkness. For the first time since she met him, the ghost looked afraid. I don't think, he whispered. The house was finished. From the hallway, a wet voice echoed. Lena. Her blood turned to ice. And something began crawling slowly out of the darkness. The dragging sound grew louder. Lena's body froze, her nails dug into Adrian's coat. Who is that? She whispered, barely able to breathe. Adrian's gray eyes were fixed on the darkness of the hallway. His jaw was tight. I don't know, he admitted. A low, wet growl came from the shadows. The smell hit Lena first. Iron, decay, something rotten. She gagged. Lena, the voice rasped again, this time closer. She tried to step back, but her foot hit the edge of the shattered window. She stumbled and fell. Stay behind me, Adrian said firmly, placing a hand on her shoulder. I can't, she stammered. It's him. It's the man. He's alive. Adrian's eyes narrowed. No, not alive. Not fully. Something else. The house. It doesn't let things leave unchanged. A wet, shuffling step echoed just beyond the hallway. Then another. Lena, the voice hissed. Why did you leave? The words twisted unnaturally, almost like they were being pulled through the wood itself. Lena screamed, I didn't! She stopped, because something moved toward the light, crawling, shoving itself along the floor like a broken marionette. The man, or what had been him, emerged. His face was pale, stretched, eyes empty. His mouth moved, but the sound was wet, like water gurgling in a drain. Adrian stepped forward. The air around him turned frigid again. Ice crept along the floorboards. "You shouldn't be here," he said, voice like steel. The figure hissed and lunged. Its movements were jerky, unnatural, inhuman. It slammed into Adrian, but he didn't falter. Lena stumbled back, nearly tripping over a chair. "Adrian!" she yelled. "Do something!" Adrian's eyes glowed faintly gray. He raised a hand, and the air thickened. The thing shrieked, a sound that made the windows rattle. "You belong nowhere," Adrian said, slowly advancing. The thing recoiled. Not the living, not the dead, not here. The thing's body twisted, limbs bent in impossible angles, its face contorted. It screamed again, no longer a man, but a soundless horror made flesh. Lena felt a strange pull in her chest, like the house was reaching for her, judging her. She fell to her knees, shivering. "Adrian, what is happening?" she whispered.
"The house, it protects what it chooses," he said, voice grim. "But sometimes mistakes happen." The thing tried to crawl past him, toward her, but Adrian's eyes blazed, and a wall of icy wind threw it backward. It hit the far wall with a sickening crack. Lena gagged, backing away toward the window. Adrian stepped between her and the hallway. His face was calm, but his eyes, they were something else. Hollow and endless, like a storm. "You will not touch her," he said.
The thing, a wet, inhuman sound, and scrambled to rise again. Adrian's hand shot out, and shadows from the walls stretched like living tendrils. They wrapped around the thing, twisting it, compressing it. "No, no!" the figure shrieked, its voice breaking into something almost human, almost pleading. "Stay away from her," Adrian growled. And then, silence. The shadows retracted. The thing was gone. Nothing remained in the hallway but a faint smell of rot and wet earth. Lena's knees gave out. She sank to the floor. "Adrian, that thing." He turned to her, his expression softer now, almost weary. "It was never human," he said quietly. "The man died, but anger, fear, malice, it clung to him. It became this." Tears ran down Lena's face. I just wanted to go home." Adrian knelt in front of her. His hand hovered over hers. The chill was intense, but somehow comforting. "You are home," he said softly. "Here you are safe. From him, from everything." "But," her voice trembled, "I can't stay. You can't leave," Adrian said, his tone final. Lena shook her head violently. "Why? I survived him. You survived because I allowed it," Adrian interrupted. "Because the house and we choose who leaves alive. But the connection remains." "What connection?" she demanded. He stood and moved toward the hallway. His coat flared like smoke. "The house remembers you now. It will not let you go." The air grew colder. Frost formed on the broken window pane. The shadows of the room stretched unnaturally toward her, almost as if reaching. She backed up, her back hitting the wall. You cannot leave," Adrian said. "And I'll never leave?" "No," he said. His eyes were hollow, but something in them, an almost human longing, lingered. "Not while I remain, and not while the house wills it." Lena's body trembled, tears streaming down her face. You saved me, and now I'm trapped with you. Adrian looked at her, and for the first time, a faint, ghostly smile touched his lips. Trapped, he echoed softly. Perhaps, but never alone. The room was silent, except for the wind rattling the broken windows, and deep beneath them, the house pulsed, alive, patient, eternal.
Lena realized with a sinking chill in her bones that her life outside this place no longer mattered. The night wasn't over, the horror wasn't done, and Adrian, the ghost who saved her, had no intention of ever letting her go. Somewhere deep in the basement, a faint scratching sound began again, and the house listened. Adrian's point of view. I watched her tremble in the corner of the room, her wide eyes tracing every shadow as if the darkness itself would leap at her. I had saved her, yes, but in saving her, I had trapped her, bound her to this house and to me, and now I could see it in her face, the fear, the anger, the realization that her freedom was gone. I do not remember a time when I have felt such something. Loneliness, yes, but tonight, something deeper, something I had buried beneath 87 years of cold walls and silence. It was warmth. Not human warmth, exactly, but the flicker of life in her that I had not expected to care for, and that made this harder. She backed against the wall, and my shadow fell across her. I wanted to tell her it wasn't personal, that I didn't wish to imprison her, but the truth, brutal, unforgiving, was that the house had already claimed her. My voice alone could not undo what the forest and the wood and the stone had decided. I could feel the pulse of the house beneath my feet, a slow, deliberate heartbeat that resonated with my own. It had judged her, accepted her. That bond, it was irreversible. The thought twisted in me, a cold ache. Her tears hit the floor, tiny splashes on the dust, and I almost reached for her. Almost, but I could not. My hand hovered in the air, trembling, not from weakness, but from restraint. I had learned long ago that compassion must be measured in ghosts, in my kind. Too much, and the house resents it. Too little, and the living perish. The basement stirred again, a faint scratching echoing upward. I stiffened. It reminded me of him, the thing he had become. The man I thought was finished, finally quiet. But no, the darkness below never truly dies. And as I turned back to her, I saw the fear spike in her eyes again. I can't leave, she whispered, voice barely audible. I swallowed. I wanted to answer. I wanted to tell her she could, if only she could leave me behind. But I knew that was a lie. I cannot leave. I cannot let her leave. Not now. The cold that always clung to me deepened, curling around her like a warning. The frost licked the edges of the broken window. The shadows in the corners shifted, drawn to her, drawn to me. We were bound now, her life tethered to this house, to me, whether she wanted it or not. I stepped closer, not threateningly, but deliberately.
my coat flaring around me like smoke. "I did not ask for this," I whispered, more to myself than to her. I did not ask for warmth or companionship or fear. Her lips trembled as she spoke. Why me?" I looked away, toward the hallway where darkness still lingered, where the echoes of the man's suffering remained. I wanted to tell her it was chance, that she was chosen by accident, but I could not lie. "No one escapes the house," I said quietly, "and I am its guardian. You have seen what it does to those it rejects. You are safe because you are bound." Her eyes searched mine, wide and accusing. "Bound? So this is punishment?" I felt a hollow weight settle into my chest. Punishment. Yes, in a way it was, but it was also protection, and something I had never dared name aloud. Love? Perhaps. A desire for connection that I had buried under decades of silence and frost. "I saved you," I said, voice low and almost broken, "and now I cannot let you go. Not into a world where he would take you. Not into a life where you would remember me only as a shadow in the woods." Her breath caught. She stepped back, but the wall stopped her retreat. I could feel her heartbeat, frantic and alive, and it hurt me in ways I had forgotten existed. "I am not your enemy," I said. "I am your protector. I will always be your protector, even if it means you fear me, even if it means—" I hesitated, looking down at her. "Even if it means that you will never forgive me." Her gaze softened just a fraction, a tremor of understanding passing through her fear. But it was not enough, never enough, and I knew with a bitter certainty that tonight would not be the last test of our bond. I turned slowly toward the basement door. A faint groaning, subtle but deliberate, came from below. The house was awake, watching, waiting, and so was I. "I am Adrian Vale, guardian, prisoner, warden of this place, and I will not let her leave. Not alive, not free, not ever." The shadows shifted, curling around us, protective and hungry. I felt the house pulse, its heartbeat mingling with mine. She is mine, and I am hers. Forever. The house was quiet, but the quiet was alive. Every creak of wood, every whisper of wind, every shadow seemed to watch her. Lena sat in the corner of the parlor, knees pulled to her chest, eyes wide. She hadn't moved since the last echoes of the basement faded. Adrian stood by the fireplace, pale gray eyes flicking to her occasionally. The frost on the floor reached toward her like fingers, subtle but insistent. "I can't leave," she whispered again, a tremor in her voice that made her sound smaller than she felt. "No," Adrian said, stepping closer. His shadow stretched long across the room, curling around her like a cage. "Not while the house wills it. Not while I remain. Not while it deems you safe, or mine." She shook her head. "Safe? You call this safe? I can't breathe. I can't even think straight. You saved me from him, but now I'm a prisoner of a ghost." Adrian tilted his head, almost curious, almost sorrowful. "And yet you are alive. You are unharmed. That is what matters. The house does not lie. It protects. It chooses. And it has chosen you to remain.
She screamed. She wanted to run, to break down the walls, to leap out the shattered window and never look back. But the frost on the floor grew thicker, spreading toward the threshold. Every step forward felt like walking through ice. She could not move. "I don't care," she shouted. "I don't care if the house protects me. I want to go home." Adrian's voice dropped, soft, final, and impossibly cold. "There is no home outside this house anymore. You belong here now, with me." She stared at him, and for a moment she thought she saw something flicker in his eyes, something human. Loneliness, regret, desire, but it vanished in an instant, replaced by the eternal gray of a ghost who had long since accepted his fate. The walls seemed to pulse, the shadows curling tighter around her. The air vibrated with a low hum, like the heartbeat of the house itself. She realized, with a sinking horror, that she had been wrong. Adrian wasn't the only power here. The house was alive, and it had already claimed her. Her tears froze on her cheeks as the frost crept higher along her legs. Adrian stepped forward, placing his hand near hers. Not touching, just hovering. The temperature plunged. Her breath puffed in clouds. "Lena," he whispered, "do you understand?" She nodded weakly, unable to speak. The realization struck her like a physical blow. She would never leave, not alive, not free, not ever. Adrian's hollow eyes softened once more. "Do not fear me," he said. "Fear leaving this place instead. Fear the darkness beyond the forest. Here you are alive. Outside, you would be nothing." A long silence followed. Then he turned, fading slightly, merging with the shadows at the edges of the room. The house seemed to sigh, the walls bending just slightly inward, as if to embrace her. She was alone, but not alone. The living could not reach her. The dead, the house, and Adrian were all that remained. Lena curled tighter into the corner, shivering, yet somehow she survived. The house hummed around her, protective, watchful, eternal. And in the distance, deep below the floorboards, the faint scratching began again. The basement waited. Adrian waited. The house waited. And she would wait too, forever. The frost crept up to her shoulders. The shadows curled around her like a lover. And somewhere in the dark, Adrian's whisper reached her ears. "You are home, Lena, and you always will be." Outside, the forest whispered, but no one came. The house had claimed her, and it never lets go. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe for more. Liked and subscribed? Thank you.